I was halfway through signing a vendor contract when my phone buzzed, lighting up with a message from my mother that nearly made me drop my pen. Morgan, don't come to Thanksgiving this year. Tyler thinks you bring tension. It's better if you sit this one out. For a second, I thought it was a joke. My sister's new husband had known me for what? Maybe a month? And somehow he had already decided I was the problem? If only he knew. But instead of firing back, I placed my phone face down, looked at my assistant, and said calmly, "Let's reschedule this meeting to tomorrow." Because one thing about me, when people try to push me out, I don't scream or argue. I move. I'm Morgan Hayes, 31, director at Falcon Ridge Real Estate Group, the youngest woman to ever manage a division worth more than $500 million. But nobody in my family knows what I really do. They think I'm in property work, like I'm selling small houses on weekends. I stopped trying to explain my life years ago. My mom's message wasn't new. It was just the loudest version so far. My sister, Brittany, had always been the shining star, the favorite, the one whose choices were treated like gold. I was the quiet one who worked nonstop but still got described as trying her best. But Tyler, her new husband, was different. The kind of man who wanted all eyes on him. The kind who bragged about his big promotion that was really just moving from customer support to team lead. The kind who sized people up like he needed to feel taller. And now, apparently, I was too tense to sit at the same table with him. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I was done. My life was too big, too full, too heavy to waste time convincing people who didn't care to understand me. I stayed late at the office that night. Finalized project numbers. Signed approvals. Ran simulations for the new executive tower development we were about to unveil. I loved the work. It was the one place I felt completely in control. At midnight, I walked through the empty lobby, heels echoing against marble floors, and felt nothing but clarity. If Tyler didn't want me at Thanksgiving, fine. He just never expected I had a world outside my family. He'd never expected that world to be so much bigger than his. The next morning started like any other, fast, sharp, and full of noise. Phones ringing, emails coming in waves, architects asking for final confirmations. My assistant, Jenna, handed me a new stack of files. Morgan, the contractor for the Skyline project, is running late. But she stopped. Her eyes went wide. When I turned, I froze for half a second. Then I almost laughed. Tyler. Standing in the doorway, red-faced, sweating, and completely stunned. He walked in like someone had shoved him forward, eyes darting between me and the giant company logo behind my desk. "Dubba, what is this?" he stammered. I leaned back in my leather chair, completely calm, while he looked like he'd stepped into a nightmare. He must have shown up thinking he'd scare me or intimidate me. Instead, he found out where I really worked, who I really was. "Good morning, Tyler," I said casually. You work here?" he yelled, voice cracking. "You're what? You're the boss." I raised an eyebrow. "I oversee 3 divisions."
"So, yes.
"I suppose that makes me the boss." "Why are you here?" He looked like he might faint. I came to talk to someone about an investment meeting. Brittany said her sister might help us, but I thought you worked in rentals." There it was. The judgment hitting him back in the face. I stayed still.
Calm.
Collected. He was the one shaking. "You told my mom I shouldn't come to Thanksgiving," I said, my tone even but firm. "Because I ruined the vibe, right?" His cheeks drained of color. "Morgan, I didn't know." "Didn't know what?" I asked. "That I had a job, that I had a life, that I wasn't some failure you could push around." He swallowed hard, still staring at the glass wall behind me, the one that showed the entire floor full of employees working under my leadership. I could practically see his ego falling apart one brick at a time. He pointed at me with a shaking finger. Why didn't you tell anyone you were this?" I flashed him the smallest smile. "No one asked." He blinked, speechless. His mouth opened, closed, then opened again with no sound coming out. Jenna walked in behind him, whispering to me, "Should I call security?" But I waved her off. Tyler wasn't a threat. He was just a man who had underestimated the wrong person. I didn't come here for this, he muttered, rubbing his forehead. I came because we need a loan and investor. Brittany said you might convince someone to give us. I cut him off with a raised hand. Tyler, let me make something very clear. I don't mix family with business. And I don't help people who belittle me. He stared at me as if I'd just flipped the world upside down. You can't do this, he shouted suddenly. Do you know who I am? Oh, the classic line. I stood up, slowly, deliberately. Not angry, powerful. Yes, I said. You're the man who tried to keep me out of Thanksgiving. His jaw tightened. But I guess you didn't expect, I continued, that the person you tried to cut out would be sitting in the office you're now begging inside. He went silent, completely frozen. Then, suddenly, he yelled. Not words, just a frustrated scream, the kind you let out when the reality you built collapses in front of you. Everyone on the floor turned to look. His face went bright red as he pointed at me and shouted, You embarrass me. I didn't even flinch. No, I said gently. You embarrassed yourself. He stormed out, slamming the door so hard the glass trembled. Jenna stepped back in after a moment. Well, she said, eyes wide. That was dramatic. I finally exhaled and said, You have no idea. And this is only the beginning. Because he thought the embarrassment ended here. He had no idea what was coming next. Not revenge out of anger. Revenge out of truth. And truth always hits harder. The moment Tyler stormed out of my office, the energy on the floor shifted. People pretended to keep working, but everyone had seen what happened. You can't really hide a grown man screaming like a child in the middle of a corporate building. I didn't chase after him. I didn't need to. Instead, I walked to the glass wall overlooking downtown, letting my heartbeat settle. This wasn't about ego. This was about clarity. Tyler finally saw the part of me he thought didn't exist. Power, stability, independence.
And he hated it.
20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Brittany. I considered ignoring it, but answered anyway. Her voice came out sharp. Morgan, what did you do to Tyler? He just came home furious. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't do anything. He showed up at my workplace without an appointment, yelled in front of my staff, and demanded money. There was silence. Brittany wasn't expecting an answer that calm. Then she snapped. You could have been nicer. I almost laughed. He told Mom I shouldn't come to Thanksgiving. That's because he thinks you judge people. You have this intimidating vibe. I closed my eyes. The irony was painful. Britt, I said softly, maybe he feels intimidated because he underestimates everyone around him. She didn't respond. She hung up instead. I stood there for a moment, realizing something. My family didn't reject me because I was a problem. They rejected me because I outgrew the version of me they were comfortable with. Fine. They could keep their small version of me, because life had bigger plans. That evening, as I finished reviewing the Skyline project's final renderings, Jenna walked in holding a thick envelope. This came through a private courier, she said. It's from legal. I opened it. Inside was a file with a heading. Tyler Morris, background report. Requested, not by you. My eyebrows shot up. Who requested this? I asked. Jenna hesitated. The courier said your mother. I blinked. My mother? The same woman who told me I wasn't welcome at Thanksgiving? My heart tightened, not from hurt but from a growing suspicion. I skimmed the file and stopped cold. Tyler had debts. A lot of them. Personal loans. Old credit card defaults. A failed tech startup he conveniently never mentioned. Even worse, he had recently applied for a private investment loan using Brittany's name. I sat down slowly. So that's why he showed up at my office. He didn't want me there for Thanksgiving because he didn't want me near my own family, in case they found out he was using them. And that wasn't even the worst part. At the bottom of the report was a note written by my mother in shaky handwriting. I didn't know who else to ask. If he hurts Brittany financially, please protect her. It hit me instantly. My mother wasn't pushing me away. because she wanted to. She was protecting Tyler. Or rather, protecting my sister from what she feared he'd do if I confronted him. A strange mix of sadness and something sharper rushed through me. They still didn't trust me. Not enough to talk to me directly. Not enough to ask for help openly. But they trusted me enough to research Tyler behind his back. And they trusted me enough to hope I'd do something about it. I closed the file slowly.
Fine.
If they wanted me out of Thanksgiving, they would get exactly what they asked for. I grabbed my coat, left the office, and headed straight to the only place this needed to end. Tyler and Brittany's house. Not to fight. Not to yell. To finish this. Because he thought screaming in my office was the worst moment of his life. He had no idea what was waiting for him when he opened that front door. The sun was setting when I parked outside Brittany and Tyler's house. Warm lights glowed through the windows. From the outside, it looked peaceful.
Perfect.
The kind of life my mother always wished Brittany would have. Nice house, nice husband, nice future. Too bad none of it was real. I walked up the driveway with a file tucked under my arm. Before I could knock, the door swung open. Tyler stood there, breathing heavily, eyes widening the second he saw me. You can't be here, he snapped, blocking the doorway with his entire body. I smiled calmly. Move.
He didn't.
So, I raised the envelope slightly. Unless you want Brittany to open this instead of me? His face drained of color instantly. What is that? He asked, voice cracking. Your past, I replied. Or should I say your present? He stepped back, panic flashing in his eyes. Not because of me. Because he knew exactly what was in that folder. I walked inside without waiting for permission. Brittany was in the kitchen, stirring something on the stove. She froze when she saw me. Morgan? What are you? Tyler rushed past me. Britt, don't listen to her. She's trying to create problems. But she wasn't stupid. She took one look at his face and whispered, What did you do? I set the folder on the dining table. Mom sent this. Brittany's head snapped toward me. Mom?
Yep.
She's the one who hired someone to dig into him. Tyler's voice cracked. She hates me. No, I corrected. She didn't trust what you were hiding. Brittany reached for the folder with trembling hands. Tyler lunged forward. Don't open that. I stepped between them, my voice slicing through the room. Touch her again, and I walk out of this house and deliver this file to her employer, her bank, and every investor you've approached. Tyler stopped dead. Brittany opened the folder. The silence that followed was suffocating. Page after page, loans, defaults, failed ventures, new debts, his application for a private investment loan under her name. She whispered, Tyler, tell me this isn't true. He lifted a hand, desperate. Brittany, listen, baby, I just needed help. For us. For our future. No, she said, voice shaking. For your mess. He looked at me then, eyes burning with anger. You planned this. You want to ruin my life. I didn't blink. You ruined your own life when you tried to drag my family into your debt. He clenched his fists, chest rising like he wanted to scream again. But Brittany stepped in front of me, something fierce awakening in her. Get out of my house, she told him. He froze.
What?
You heard me. Leave. For the first time, he looked genuinely terrified. But where will I go? That's not my problem, she said. He tried one last time. Your mom will hate you for this. No, Brittany whispered. She'll finally understand why Morgan didn't come to Thanksgiving. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Brittany turned to me, tears threatening to fall. Why didn't you tell us who you really are? What you really do? I sighed. Because you never asked. She broke down then, leaning into me. Not as my sister who always had everything, but as someone finally seeing the truth. Stay for dinner? She whispered. I nodded.
Yeah.
I'm here. But tomorrow? Tomorrow was going to be the real moment of revenge. And it wouldn't be loud. It would be unforgettable. Thanksgiving morning arrived with that sharp holiday chill that usually felt comforting. But this year it carried something new: clarity.
Strength.
A sense that everything, finally, was shifting into place. I got dressed in a simple navy suit, tied my hair back, and grabbed the folder my mother had sent. Not to expose Tyler. That part was done. I was bringing it for a different reason. A truth my family needed to hear from me, not from whispers or assumptions. When I pulled into my mother's driveway, the smell of food drifted from the open windows. Laughter echoed from inside.
The same old familiar sound.
Except this time, when I stepped onto the porch, the door flew open before I could knock. My mother stood there, eyes wide, breath catching in her chest. "Morgan," she whispered, like she wasn't sure I was real. "I heard you didn't expect me," I said calmly. Her voice broke. I didn't know what to do. "Tyler, he said you two didn't get along, and Brittany seemed happy, and you believed him." I finished for her. She closed her eyes, guilt washing over her face. "I'm sorry. I didn't want the day to turn into an argument." That was always her fear, conflict. Not truth. Not protection. Just conflict. But today wasn't about fighting. "I know," I said gently. "That's why I'm here." She looked confused but stepped aside, letting me in. The house was warm, filled with voices, but the second they saw me, everyone went quiet. My aunt whispered, "I thought she wasn't coming." Brittany walked out from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. She looked stronger today.
Clearer.
She came straight to me and hugged me tight, surprising everyone, including Mom. "She told me everything," Brittany said softly. Mom's eyes darted between us. "Everything." I handed her the folder. "You hired someone to look into Tyler," I said. "You were worried. So here, this is everything you asked for. But you don't have to worry anymore." Mom opened it slowly. Her hand trembled as she read the first page. What was he planning to do with Brittany's name?" she whispered, horrified. "Sign her into debt to fix his past mistakes," Brittany answered for me. He admitted it when Morgan confronted him. Gasps filled the room. Mom pressed a hand to her chest, emotions breaking through. "Oh my God, Morgan, I should have listened to you. I should have trusted you." I shook my head. "You should trust yourself. You knew something was wrong. You just didn't want to make the wrong choice." She stepped closer, tears forming. "And I chose to shut you out instead." This was the moment I'd been waiting for. Not revenge, not satisfaction. Just honesty. "I'm not angry," I said softly. "But don't cut me out to protect someone else again. Especially someone who doesn't protect you." She pulled me into a tight hug, the kind she hadn't given me in years. "You're staying for dinner," she said firmly. "No more excuses." I smiled. "I planned to." From the living room, Brittany called out with a laugh, "Mom's about to burn the turkey again." The room filled with warm laughter, the kind that's real, finally real. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the outsider. I felt like the daughter, the sister, the protector, the one who showed up when it mattered. And as we gathered around the table, plates full, voices loud, I realized something. The revenge wasn't the confrontation. It wasn't exposing Tyler. It wasn't proving myself. The real revenge was being happy, right where they once thought I didn't belong.